How prepared are you for the inevitable personal data breach? Did you know that good preparation can double your chances of not having a breach at all? Now, Cisco's excellent 2020 data privacy benchmark study, highly recommended, as well as noting an average 2.7 times ROI on privacy spend, 3.5 in the UK, noted that organisations that scored higher for privacy maturity were over twice as likely to be breach-free over 12 months. They suffered a fifth less downtime. They had nearly a third fewer records impacted and 10% lower breach costs. Now that sounds great to me, so we're going to look at 7 steps to prepare for a breach so you can reduce the chances of having one, reduce the impact when you do, and react rapidly and in compliance with GDPR. Hi, I'm Robert Bohr, the founder and CEO of Keepable, the award-winning solution saving you time, money and stress on privacy, giving you a great answer for the board and customers. This video is part of Privacy Kitchen, free video help with GDPR and all things privacy. If you're new here, please click subscribe and notify to hear about awesome new Privacy Kitchen videos. Links are in the notes below as always. 2 points to note: it's always recommended to document as much as practicable, and of course under GDPR you have to document all personal data breaches. And secondly, each of these steps are big topics on their own, so watch out for more videos from Privacy Kitchen going into more detail on them. Okay, the first step. Step 1 is create your breach team. So privacy really is a team sport, and you'll need a team to plan how to prepare for a breach and then carry out that preparation. And that preparation can be summarized in our remaining 6 steps. Inventorize, assess, remediate, document, train, and review. Typically, the lead person is your privacy champion, the person looking after GDPR at your organization. They know most about GDPR, they'll know about the tests and the obligations in GDPR, the factors for GDPR risk assessment, and they're probably going to be the one notifying the regulator and individuals if you have to. The second key person is your head of security, because as we saw in our video, What is a breach for GDPR? Every personal data breach starts with a security breach. They're going to know what security risks are, how to assess them, and they'll be the lead on remediation and your technical reaction when there is one. Now, depending on the size of the organization, these may be the same person, they may be you. In a large organization, they may delegate to team members. And you may have a slightly different team for actually reacting when you do have a breach. Okay, step 2. Inventorize your personal data. Now, your privacy champion will lead here and may have already carried out their personal data inventory. The full inventory will tell you where personal data lives in your organization and the key security information, who has access, who it's shared with and why, all the way through the data lifecycle, storage through to destruction or anonymization at the end. Now, GDPR's Article 30 does require you to keep certain records of processing. These Article 30 records are summary records only. Your actual inventory or data map will have much more information. You'll want to be looking at your full inventory. There's a great SaaS service for this now. Lost the name. Okay, number 3, assess risk. Now you know where the personal data is and what happens to it, you can do risk assessments, which in privacy are called privacy impact assessments, or PIAs for short, because you're looking at the impact on individuals from your processing of their personal data. Now, we looked at risk and GDPR and impact assessments in separate videos, so the biggest point to make here is the different approach to risk. Security risk assessments tend to look at information assets like a server or a database, and then the risk to those assets and therefore the risk to the organization. Privacy impact assessments, on the other hand, look at processing activities like HR recruiting and finance payroll, and only care about risk to the data subjects. ENISA, the EU agency for cybersecurity, recognise this in their guidelines for SMEs on security of personal data processing, and their Handbook on security and data processing, which are great with risk assessment with real life examples. Links are in the notes below, highly recommended. Now, of course, GDPR may not care about risk to your organization, but you do, and you'll need to consider enterprise risk as well as risk to data subjects as you go. Now, after recognizing the different approach to risk, you can borrow a lot from security best practices. Indeed, GDPR borrows the famous CIA triad from security: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. They're the 3 types of breach in GDPR, and they help you categorize those risks. In their guide on GDPR and security, the UK ICO notes that you do need to look at the CIA triad, and it goes on for risk assessments to recommend you review the personal data you hold, the way you use it, assessing how valuable, secure, confidential it is, the damage and the distress that it could be causing to data subjects if it's compromised. And the UK ICO names some factors to take into account, such as the nature and the extent of your organization's premises and computer systems, the number of staff you have and the extent of their access to personal data, any personal data held or used by a data processor acting on your behalf. Again, those ENISA documents are interesting at looking at risk as well. Okay, step 4, remediation. Your risk assessments will identify remediation actions on both the enterprise and individual risks, which the team will then implement, helped by others as appropriate. In GDPR speak, you must implement appropriate technical organizational measures, and the appropriate bit is appropriate to the risk to individuals. And again, it's good to document these because the UK ICO notes it's required to consider the measures that you had in place when considering an administrative fine if you have a breach. Now, both the UK ICO and ENISA note there's no one-size-fits-all approach to security, but you can look at both the physical security as well as cybersecurity aspect. We'll be looking at security in more detail in other videos. It's a huge topic, but we always recommend these typical top measures to reduce GDPR risk. Use encryption everywhere. Make sure no passwords are in plain text or any databases are publicly accessible. Use access control, including physical access control. Look at least privilege access, password managers, two-factor authentications, tools like mobile device management. The UK ICO and ENISA, all linked to below, give further examples. Okay, step 5, document your response procedure. Your privacy champion will take the lead here, but as we noted in our video, What's a Breach for GDPR, every personal data breach starts with a breach of security. So your personal data breach response plan will have to dovetail with and at least be tightly connected to your existing security incident response procedure. Now, a good, clear procedure, believe me, it really helps in the heat of the moment, so do take some time on it. A good procedure will help to identify what is a personal data breach, set out who should be contacted and give their contact details, summarize investigation and containment measures with examples, set out the escalation procedures, help with assessing the personal data risk to individuals, again with examples, and that leads to helping to decide whether to notify regulators or those individuals. It should also set out how to capture lessons learned and further remediation. Now, on notifications, bear in mind it's not just GDPR you'll be considering. You'll have other regulatory, contractual and moral obligations to consider. Do you notify individuals, partners, customers, insurers, regulators, or even other authorities? The 6th step, once you've got to this point, is training and awareness. Now, definitely everyone needs training on security and data protection, and breach is a clear crossover point. But training needs to be appropriate for each role. So everyone will have basic training and the response team will need to know it all. And there'll be some people in the middle. Now, if you do have a breach and you do need to notify it to the UK ICO, their report a breach form asks if those who have been involved had data protection training in the last 2 years. So this is something you need to do, and we recommend training new joiners and then annual refreshers. And the awareness part can be very simple and very effective and a lot more fun. You can put some posters about, the occasional notice during all hands calls work wonders. Tabletop exercises, often called war games, are great fun. They're good for team building and they get people role-playing real-life breach situations. Okay, the final part. Step 7, review. This final part is to make sure you keep all this hard work alive by periodically reviewing it all. Reviewing the risks, reviewing your security measures, reviewing your policies, reviewing your training. Make sure everything's just kept going along and keep that governance going. And a quick word on tools to use. So really it's whatever works for you. Yes, if you can use spreadsheets for these. Yes, I'm obviously going to say SaaS is better. Do have a look at the market, do find what works for you. And one big thing though is if you have a process that works at the moment, really think carefully before you ditch it. Try and find something that works with the process you have. So there you go, 7 steps to prepare for a personal data breach. Please do look at our other Privacy Kitchen videos, such as what is a personal data breach for GDPR. Please do visit us at keepable.com. Please do get involved and use hashtag #PrivacyKitchen to tell us the topics and questions you want us to cover. And stay well in the meantime, and I look forward to seeing you in Privacy Kitchen soon.